So I feel like I've discussed this many times before. I think I said it in a PREMulous roundup, but it feels like graphical upgrades have hit a point of diminishing returns over the years. Like if we look at PS1 and N64 versus like their predecessors, graphics had this huge jump, obviously going from 2D to 3D. And then when we go from like PS1 to PS2, aka 5th to 6th generation, graphics had another huge jump in quality. And then we went from PS2 to PS3, and I think PS3 generation, PS3 360, was the first time that I really felt like graphics actually were starting to really feel more photorealistic, you know, because PS2, let's be real, like, those graphics were not the most realistic looking. They tried for their time. There was a huge leap from PS1, but PS3 is when it started to feel more real. And we rode the PS3 360 wave for a good 7 years. And then we got to PS4 and Xbox One, and there were improvements, like, let's not deny it, but the fact that people were like remastering games from PS3 and 360 and putting them on PS4, Xbox One, and I mean remastering, not remaking, the fact that they're able to comfortably do that shows that the differences weren't that major. Because let's face it, you couldn't remaster a PS1 game and put it on PS2 and have it look similar to the other PS2 games. You would have to remake it. Whereas you could do that with a PS3 game, touch it up with some textures, a few lighting improvements, same engine, and get it to run on PS4. And it would still look good, you know, bump up the resolution, PS4 Pro supports 4K, and you were off, you know. The graphical improvements on a technical level were not that high. You know, there's other things like obviously resolution or frame rate, but just from a graphical standpoint, things have kind of slowed down. And for a while, we're starting to wonder, like, are we going to get those photorealistic graphics? Because we get these really cool tech demos that would look photorealistic, and we'll be like, okay, but, you know, in real world use, that's not going to happen. So now we've got this really important reveal that happened on Wednesday as a part of the Summer Games Fest. Yes, there's another fest. It's not Future Game Show. It's not IGN Summer of Gaming. See, now that E3 is gone, everything's scattered, but that's another topic. Point is, there's another gaming festival, and they dropped a huge bombshell, and that is the Unreal Engine 5. Yep, that's been in development. It's coming in 2021, and they showed us an amazing tech demo that I've already seen, so it's not like a live reaction or anything. And they showed probably the most photorealistic video game tech demo I've seen ever. And what makes this one stand out over the ones I've seen in the past is that this one is running at real time on the PlayStation 5, which is also going to support Xbox Series X. It's also going to be on PC. And that shows that if it can run at real time at this level of quality, then maybe, just maybe, we might be getting a huge graphical bump. Now, of course, it's not coming until 2021, and, you know, PS5 and Xbox Series X are coming out 2020, so there's going to be a lot of earlier titles that are still going to be doing that graphics that could work on PS4, but maybe with better frame rate or better resolution. You know, we're not probably going to see the effects of this for a while. You know, whichever games are launching first when this engine is ready are the ones that are going to see that jump. And of course, with it being a tech demo, you know, the people making the engine, which is Epic Games, which I didn't actually know that Epic Games were the ones who worked on Unreal Engine. I had no idea. But given that it's their engine, they're probably going to be able to harness it the best, and other game developers will probably not get their visuals to the same level, unless maybe they're AAA companies. But you just want to take this with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, we've got the article here, the official blog post where they talk about the Unreal Engine 5 and show us the details that we need to know. So it says here, we've just released a first look at Unreal Engine 5. One of our goals in this generation is to achieve photorealism on par with movie CG in real life and put it within practical reach of development teams of all sizes through highly productive tools and content libraries. And they call the tech demo Lumen in the Land of Nanite. Real time running on PlayStation 5. Man, it's just insane, like, that this is actually an image in a video game and not like a real photo. Like, it's crazy to think, you know. This demo previews two of the new core technologies that will debut in Unreal Engine 5. Nanite's virtualized micro polygon geometry. Wow, I feel like a character in The Big Bang Theory. Frees artists to create as much geometric detail as the eye can see. Nanite virtualized, oh my god, means that film quality source art comprising hundreds of millions or billions of polygons could be imported directly into Unreal Engine. Anything from ZBrush sculpts to photogrammetry scans to CAD data, I don't know what the fuck all this is, and it just works. It's streamed and scaled in real time, so there's no more polygon count budgets, polygon memory budgets or draw count budgets. So I'm kind of taking that as there's less limitations, essentially, or no more limitations. There's no need to bake details to normal maps or manually alter LODs, and there's no loss in quality. So a lot of tech jargon there that I don't fully understand, but one of the things they showed in the preview, and of course I'll link to the preview in the description because I'm not going to watch the whole thing here because I've already seen it, but they explained the whole thing in ways that I didn't fully understand. But when they talked about this, as you can see here, the global illumination solution, that's like the lighting engine, the way the lights move around the environment and it bounces off all the surfaces and it feels very realistic. They can change the song angle for time of day, turning on a flashlight or blowing a hole in the ceiling, and indirect lighting will adapt accordingly. This is pretty insane. The team made heavy use of Quixel Megascans library, which provides film quality objects up to hundreds of millions of polygons. They're literally taking film data to make this thing work. But there is also one thing I want to talk about, which I mentioned on Twitter as well. I said that the environments are starting to look so real that the humans were looking out of place by comparison, because I've noticed something, and it's that humans in video games still are very far from realism. And I mean, like, even like Spider-Man PS4, which is a great looking game, like the human faces, you could just tell they're fake. And I mean, human faces are pretty hard to recreate in the game and look realistic, you know. I was asking people on Twitter like to suggest any games that had realistic looking humans. The only one that I thought was pretty decent was Modern Warfare. If you look at this environment here, these rocks look pretty real. Like, this is near photorealistic, but you look at the human and it's like, you can tell that face is not real. It's just the materials on the clothing, you can just, it's very clear. I feel like if you were to put an image of a human like beside it, it's just like night and day, whereas the rocks are a lot harder to discern. So it's kind of taken me out of the belief that it's a real world, if that makes sense. Almost like just taking Mario or some other cartoony character, or like Kirby or whatever, and just slapping them into this environment. It makes it even more evident that they don't belong here, essentially. But yes, it's coming in 2021. It's going to support even current gen consoles as well, PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. I mean, I guess phones are pretty powerful now. Why shouldn't it support Unreal Engine, you know? Not every game is going to be like max graphics anyway, so why wouldn't it? And they're designing for forward compatibility, so you can get started with next gen in Unreal Engine 4 and then move your projects when ready. Which I think they already announced that Fortnite was going to be moved to Unreal Engine 5. Given that it's Epic Games, I'm not really surprised. Oh, it literally says it right there. Yeah, I heard it before, so that's why I said it there. It was a bit coincidental, but you know. And they've waived royalties, so anyone who makes a game in Unreal Engine doesn't have to pay any royalties if their game makes less than $1 million. So I guess they're really trying to encourage people, because they know that if they can get more people using it, a small amount of those people making games in it will hit the $1 million threshold, and of course have to pay Epic Games. So it's only a smart decision there. But yeah, I mean, this is a good thing. I really just want to see if this is one of those tech demo hype things, or if we're actually going to see that level of photorealism in real world usage. Because obviously, yes, it's running on PlayStation hardware in real time, but how many developers are going to take full advantage of this? Like, because it's been a while, you know, since we've gotten a real huge upgrade, and I'm really just hoping that this is the chance that we get to see things become more realistic. And I'm not even someone who's against non-realistic looking games. Like, I love games with art styles. I don't really like cel shading though. That's just one of my things. I don't like cel shading. But in general, like, I like cartoony art styles in games, but I also like photorealism. And it kind of felt like a lot of people who were on the side of not really being into photorealism were kind of hating on this as if it was a bad thing. Like, look at this. Like, people screaming about good graphics are the reason game studios focus on them first and hinder fun gameplay. Like, that's not even a fair argument, because at the end of the day, those two are not mutually exclusive. You can have photorealistic graphics and fun gameplay. And you shouldn't be raining on people's parade anyway. People should be allowed to be excited for upgrades in graphics. Of course, you want games to be fun as well. If your game just looks good and is not fun, people will call you out on it. It even goes as shit as they look. Mario 64, Spider-Man 2, and Crash Team Racing are all fun to control. Good graphics all last for 1 hour. I mean, Crash Team Racing and Mario 64, at the time they came out, were pretty groundbreaking graphically. Like, Mario 64 was like a huge 3D platformer and the one that set the standard. So they were trying to awe people on those things. So you're acting like those examples, because graphically they've aged now, that at the time you're trying to pretend that they weren't pushing graphics forward. If you look at the developer interviews, like there's one that I saw the other day where one of the creators of Crash was talking about how they pushed the PlayStation 1 to its boundaries even more so than the people at Sony. They push the graphical limitations of that system. So graphics will always matter. It's not a substitute for good gameplay. You shouldn't really be upset at people for wanting to see where graphics can go. But there are other things that matter. Of course, the standard stuff like resolution and frame rate, but it's also like, yeah, we want the games to look good, but we also want more interactivity as well. Like, you don't just want a nice looking environment that you can't interact with and do things with. Like, if it's an open world game, you want to have the ability to like explore more of the world, like not just like all the buildings shut off and you can't really do much, but oh, it looks pretty, or just huge open worlds where there's just nothing to do, but they can say, oh, it's this size, but it's just empty land essentially. Like, a more condensed game probably be more beneficial. But of course, photorealism is still a good thing. Not every game needs it, but for the games that do use it, it's fun to have. It's nice to look at. It's eye candy. Like, we buy these expensive PCs, we want to see some shit, you know what I mean? So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Are you into these kind of things? Are you looking forward to next generation now? Because I was a bit meh on next gen, but this has kind of hyped me up a little bit, you know? But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. More content coming soon to the channel. We're moving now. Like, we hit like 2,450 subs. Like, we're moving. Your boy getting that support. I'm grateful. But yeah, it's your boy, Remulous, Rem Gang. And I'm out.